levels of government have failed to acknowledge the seriousness of this crisis. On top of that, we see a glaring difference in the treatment of Indigenous and racialized protesters as opposed to the way the convoy is being treated.
Tonight, 3 weeks into the trucker occupation of Ottawa, and things might soon wrap up.
The goal is to have 100,000.
They're shooting for higher stakes in a bigger and better Indian relay circuit.
I just think that this kind of stuff makes people really happy, and I like to make people happy.
And the late Alan Sapp's granddaughter keeps his artistic legacy alive in her own quirky way. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We start tonight in Ottawa, where police are handing out warning notices to protesters, telling them it's time to leave. Police are walking the streets, handing out leaflets that say, in part, you must leave the area now. Anyone blocking streets or assisting others in blocking the streets are committing a criminal offense, and you may be arrested. The notice says police have the authority to seize vehicles, issue fines, and make arrests. Some trucks have started to leave the area, but other protesters seem to be standing their ground and even throwing out the notices right in front of the officers. Many of the protesters say they aren't going anywhere in spite of the warnings.
This is like, I don't know. I don't agree with this.
This ain't changing nobody's mind.
I will say this, the mandates are getting lifted, so that's what we want. That's all we want, is the mandates lifted.
Why would I go to jail? I'm here in peace.
So they threatened me on Monday that they're going to freeze my bank accounts if I'm here.
Smoke and mirrors.
So I'm coming back here.
Meanwhile, the Children's Aid Society of Ottawa issued a warning to parents who've brought children to the protests, advising them to make sure their kids can be taken care of in case the parents are arrested. Well, many have said there's been a glaring difference between how the police have interacted with Freedom Convoy protesters as opposed to how authorities treat Indigenous people in similar situations. Today, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh asked Prime Minister Trudeau about that during question period.
Mr. Speaker, we are in a national crisis because all levels of government have failed to acknowledge the seriousness of this crisis. On top of that, we see a glaring difference in the treatment of Indigenous and racialized protesters as opposed to the way the convoy is being treated. Canadians are deeply concerned about that. So what is the Prime Minister going to do to address the serious concerns that people have that there is a disproportionate treatment of racialized people and Indigenous people as compared to the convoy, and what will he do to fix that?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as a government for a number of years now, we've recognized systemic racism and pledged and worked towards reducing it. The reality that racialized Canadians, Indigenous Canadians face worse outcomes and treatments from our justice system, from police systems, is one of those things that we have pledged to counter. We work closely with Black and Indigenous communities to make sure that we are reducing the barriers and ensuring equitable treatment, particularly in moments of crisis like this one.
The border crossing in Emerson, Manitoba has reopened as RCMP reached an agreement with protesters to end the blockade there.
Past 6 days, our officers continued to use open communication and a measured and tempered response. This continuous dialogue between our officers and the demonstrators enabled us to reach a resolution yesterday.
Protesters at the Manitoba border have left the area and full access to the port of entry has been restored. No arrests were made. Ottawa says the blockade stalled around $73 million worth of daily trades. Well, we want to hear what you think about the new developments in these protests, both in Ottawa and the one that's stopped at the U.S. border in Manitoba. Here's how you can let us know your thoughts. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News and join the conversation and see all of our latest stories. An Innu First Nation on the eastern edge of Quebec is reeling from a COVID-19 outbreak. Inu recently lost 3 of their elders in the span of 6 days. Here's a story by Shashan Bacon, translated by Amelia Fournier.
Shipu is in mourning. 3 elders have recently died from COVID-19, and their encyclopedic ancestral knowledge has been lost. One of them, Ambroise Apenuen Lalo, wasn't able to get the medical attention he required. According to Alexis Lalo, Apenuen's son, the family worked hard to evacuate their father from the remote flying community as quickly as possible. Apenuen waited 4 days.
Mais la première journée, quand même, il faisait quand même, la température était quand même très bonne, mettons pour faire une évacuation médicale là, par avion. Là. Mais sauf qu'ils ont eu de la misère à trouver un appareil pour évacuer le patient. Mais à la fin de journée, c'est là que la température, ça s'est dégradé. Puis la journée d'après, puis par après, il y a eu d'autres cas qui se sont embarqués, d'autres cas de COVID. Puis là, il fallait, mettons que le centre médical, mettons, priorité des patients. Puis l'autre patient était plus, mettons, je pense que son état était encore plus grave.
As a child and young adult, Apenuen lived both the traditional nomadic life as well as the forced settling of the Innus. According to his son, Apenuen was proud of his culture and was an avid caribou hunter.
Nous avons fait vie, mettons, la vie traditionnelle. Oui, nous, il était capable de faire des canaux. Quand il est pas né, nous, il était capable de faire des raquettes. Nous,
Alexis' dad reminded him regularly to share with those in need, even those from the forest, as shown in this documentary, Le Temps d'une chasse. Unfortunately, the chief of Shipu has said that the community struggled to obey public health measures, which led to the outbreak that cost Apenuen his life. Chief Mike McKenzie of Uashat Mak Maniutanem is part of the Inu Nation's COVID-19 task force. He adds that the chiefs are beginning to spread the message that populations must learn to live with the virus, and that some hard lessons have been learned.
Je pense au niveau de la romaine, je pense qu'il y a un taux de vaccination qui est pas élevé. Fait que je pense, avec les dernières discussions que j'ai avec mon collègue chef, le chef Marc, le monde commence à reprendre la vaccination. Le monde le demande.
But the question remains, how to live with COVID-19 in Indigenous communities while protecting elders. Alexis often thinks about one of the last conversations he had with his father.
Puis là, par contre, on a bien expliqué, si mettons ton cas arrête, veux-tu qu'on te réanime? Oui, elle nous avait dit, oui, je veux être réanimé, je veux encore voir mes petits-enfants, je veux le faire pour mes petits-enfants. C'est ça qu'elle nous l'a dit.
Though Alexis learned so much from his father, he admits having regrets, mainly not taking the time with his father to learn how to make a canoe. He hopes that others in Shipu will not have to face similar regrets anytime soon. A story by Shushan Bacon, APTN National News, Wendake, Quebec.
Heartbreaking. BC is lifting most COVID-19 restrictions starting tomorrow. Table limits at bars and restaurants are going to be gone, and nightclubs can reopen their doors.
I feel like dancing, which I'm going to be able to do legally on the 17th for the first time in 2 years.
Capacity limits on indoor venues like movie theaters and sports arenas will be scrapped. Wedding and funeral receptions are also getting the go-ahead, and for private gatherings, limits will be completely removed. People are still have to wear masks at indoor public places. So that follows similar announcements made in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Well, we need to take a commercial break, but still ahead, a major upset in a by-election in Saskatchewan where a new party won a seat that was held for 25 years. Stay with us. They're calling it a big upset in Saskatchewan politics after holding one of the province's 2 northern seats for close to 25 years. The NDP lost the Athabasca riding to the Saskatchewan Party in a provincial by-election held Monday night. APTN's Fraser Needham has those details.
Jim LeMaig is the newly minted MLA. He's a former RCMP officer and member of the Clearwater River Dene Nation. LeMaig defeated long-serving La Loche Mayor and former MP Georgina Jolibois for the NDP. The seat had been vacant since the fall. The new MLA says he thinks voters decided they wanted someone at the government table.
One elder put it quite eloquently. He said, we've been on the outside of governments for so long, why would we put ourselves there again? with this opportunity. And I think that is what the people recognized, and they spoke last night.
The Sask Party will now hold 48 seats in the provincial legislature. To the NDP's 12, there is one independent. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
There's new developments in the extradition case of convicted murderer John Graham. A BC Court of Appeal has found there are questions surrounding procedural fairness in the Graham case. Here's Sarah Connors with some new details.
The BC Court of Appeal is raising serious questions about procedural fairness in the murder conviction of John Graham. A Champaign and Ajax citizen from the Yukon, Graham was extradited to the U.S. in 2007 for the 1975 murder of Anna Mae Pictou Aquash in South Dakota. Both were members of the American Indian movement. A jury found Graham guilty of felony murder in 2010 and sentenced him to life without parole. But in a written decision from last week, the court found the Canadian government made a mistake in accepting the U.S.'s request for extradition, because U.S. prosecutors pursued different charges than those Graham was originally extradited for. The appeal court found that extradition orders should be sent back to Canada's justice system for reconsideration. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Thanks, Sarah. The Southern Chiefs organization in Manitoba announced today they will form a mobile crisis response team. The move comes after several years of consultation and growing needs in First Nations across Manitoba. Services will include addictions, support through traditional teachings, as well as post-suicide response for communities in need. Grand Chief Jerry Daniels says the 24/7 team will help communities in crisis.
This isn't going to solve all the problems, but we are going to be able to help in a crisis situation. We are going to be able to be someone that the chief and the council and the community leadership can depend on to be there to help them through a crisis situation. And that's, I think, what we all want in the interim. But the problem is much larger than a crisis unit can establish. We would love to have, a crisis mental health system in every one of our communities, and that'll always be the goal.
Time for another break, but still ahead. A new Indian Relay League is happening this year.
This Super Series is like spreading like wildfire right now. It's crazy. It's like exciting.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. During a recent cross-country journey, Puddles McKay Lynxleg, the pug from Winnipeg, was visiting with January Lynxleg of Surrey, British Columbia. Puddles has since arrived back in Winnipeg this past weekend with Big Papa Alan McKay. Got a great photo. You can send it to share@aptn.ca, and your photo might be our next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. To the east coast, we got 10 and cloud for Fredericton, snow and 4 degrees for St. John's. Kuujjuaq, minus 18 with a mix of sun and cloud. La Grande River, snow, minus 16. Sept-Îles, 2 degrees and snow expected there. 8 and rain for Montreal. 8 in rain for Ottawa. North Bay, minus 12 and some flurries expected. Sunshine and minus 20 for Sioux Lookout. Thunder Bay, minus 15 and sunshine. Sunny for Thompson and Puckatawagan and God's Lake and Norway House and Yarls, minus 21. Minus 23 and sunny for Winnipeg, minus 17 and snow for Dauphin. Minus 8 and snow for Saskatoon, 1 with some snow for Swift Current. Snow, minus 17 in La Roche, sunshine and minus 23 for Stony Rapids. Minus 19 and snow for Fort Chip, minus 14 and flurries there for Fort McMurray. 4 and snow for Edmonton and Red Deer and Medicine Hat. 9 and cloud for Kamloops and Quesnel. 7 and cloud for Bella Coola. 7 and some rain expected for Prince George. You're getting rain in Smithers and 6 degrees. Sunshine and minus 16 for Dawson City. Old Crow clear, minus 35. Minus 29 and clear for Norman Wells and Wati. Fort McPherson, minus 26 and sunny. Paulatuck, snow, minus 21. New Yacht, minus 31 and clear skies. Arviat, minus 27. You're clear there too. Minus 37 and snow for Igloolik, minus 35 and clear for Clyde River. A new Indian Relay League will be this spring, founded by 3 Treaty 6 Cree members, and it's going to offer very high purses for each event. APTN's Chris Stewart has all of those details.
Here they go! A couple holders on the ground, and we look to the front.
To those who love it, nothing beats the thrill of watching live Indian relay racing. Competitors work as a team, riding a horse to fame and glory. And now the Super Series Indian Relay is launching this spring with competitors across Turtle Island and the United States. The level of competition will be high. Kimberly Breton is the co-CEO of the league.
So our season opener is May 22nd, 23rd in Leduc at Century Mile Casino. And right now we have 7 confirmed dates with 5 pending. So we're going to have about 11 sanctioned events. And our championships will be held at Enoch River Cree Resort on September 3rd and 4th.
And it's a huge $50,000 purse for each event. It's one of, if not the highest payouts, with the championships possibly reaching a total purse of even more.
Our goal is our championship weekend in Enoch, September 3rd and 4th. The goal is to have 100,000. And we're working very hard with our partners, our sponsors, and industry. So we're working very hard, Trina and I, to make that $100,000 championship.
The league will include a women's division as well.
We have a lot of women over here in Canada that are horsemen, and they want to do it. So we made it happen, and that's going to be first time in Canada.
Trina Shirt is another co-organizer, and she says Indian relay racing is gaining momentum quickly as a sport.
This Super Series is like spreading like wildfire right now. It's crazy. It's like exciting. It's like, oh my God, everybody's like calling us. They want Super Series hosted at their venues.
The league's top finishers will compete in the World Championships in Casper, Wyoming at the end of the season. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
How can you not be excited for that? Well, what do you get when you combine nostalgia from the past, Photoshop, and a creative mind? You get a Cree photographer who's bringing lots of smiles to her clients in Saskatoon. APTN's Leanne Sanders has this story.
Yeah. Cheyenne Sapp is busy on a photo shoot in her studio with her client Sean Cuthand. And the results are fun and unique, vintage 80s and 90s style portraits. Perfect. Cuthand is a Cree Mohawk comedian and podcaster from Saskatoon. He loved Sapp's idea when he saw it on social media.
Right away when she posted it, I was like super stoked about it. I was like resharing it and was telling her like, yeah, I definitely want to get one done, and told her that I was going to look for a vintage jacket to wear.
Cuthand is planning to use his shots to promote future open mic nights, which Sapp has also performed at. Sapp loves the nostalgia that comes along with this type of photography.
I saw a couple of pictures done. There was what was that movie, Napoleon Dynamite, where they kind of go back in time and they have like those glamour shots, and I just thought that it was always like so cringy that it's cool now. And so I wanted to do something like that for a long time, but I never had the equipment. I never had like any Photoshop training or anything like that, just photography training, that was it. And then I got all the equipment like recently and I did it.
Yeah, you gotta look into this light.
Sapp doesn't consider herself a professional photographer, but loves the work. The creative streak runs deep. She's the granddaughter of renowned photographer, the late Alan Sapp.
I do it mainly as a hobby, but I have taken jobs here and there, so it's like a hobby that makes me some extra money, right? And I just think that this kind of stuff makes people really happy, and I like to make people happy. It makes people laugh because it's like funny, like to go back in time and think, you know what, I remember my picture I had like that when I was a kid, and yeah.
Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
To continue with the photography theme, today on In Focus, we talked to photographers about their work and got some tips for you to improve your photo taking. Here's some of that advice.
I think the beautiful thing about photography is that if you have the will to, just capture something, make it an intention. You don't need to buy like a $2,000 camera and to do that. For sure, you might get like some differences in respects of quality, but at the same time, if you have like that and if you set that intention to step outside the house and make it a point. Today I want to take a photo of sunset and use your memory of like the city or like your surroundings and knowing like what time the sun sets and go to a nice spot for it and just do it.
Just know where to place the subject of the photo, give it room to breathe, whether it's set it off to center or in the corner if you're taking a shot of the sunset. Kind of minimize the landscape because really the sky is what you're looking to highlight. So just cover the tree line, the bottom of the frame, and then let the sky do the rest of the work is one thing that I often tell people is less is often more, and try to keep it really simple and to the point.
And being able to train your eye to be able to see things in a different way. And so right now, if we start taking photos, lots of times people take a photo of something, the subject's right in the middle. And what happens with that? That's a good photo to have. That's one of them. But we want to get more cinematic in framing of our shots. So think of your photo or your frame of the camera having basically separated into thirds. So think of like a tic-tac-toe box running through your frame. And so you can do that on your iPhone or else your Android and be able to enable grid view. And then you want to put your subject not in the middle, but put it on one of those third lines. And what that allows you to do is be able to have your eye scan through the photo like you're reading a book. And then it finds the subject that's in the upper third or the lower third, and it allows you to be able to scan through. It gives more sort of lets you just, rather than your eye stopping right in the middle, it allows you to scan through a photo to get more feeling of the frame and more creative ways to look. When we shoot photos, lots of times we shoot photos eye level. We shoot it the way we're standing, and we're shooting it right there from where we're standing. And that's a good shot to be able to get, but try get lower for people. Try get lower to lower close to the ground, and you're trying to create depth in your image. So you use sort of like subjects that are there, whether they're flowers, whether they're trees, whether it's rocks that are there, and you're using that to lay a foundation on the bottom layer of your frame. And then you're allowing your eye to scan through. It creates more dimension into your frames.
Well, let's just stay on the nature photo theme. Here's a pair of bald eagles tending their nest in California mountains. The female eagle, Jackie, and the male that somebody named Shadow kept a close eye on their 2 eggs. The chicks could begin hatching later this month. Well, that is your midweek news. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks for joining us. If you want some tips for taking better photos, you can watch that entire In Focus on the APTN News Facebook page. It's on there right now. I will see you back here tomorrow. Until then, have a great night.